He built a house with his bare hands. And now, his own son was asking him to leave it behind. Baba Jani sat on the wooden bench outside the old house he had spent 30 years building, his eyes tracing the fading paint along the porch rail. It wasn't just a house to him, it was a story carved with sweat, laughter, and long nights of prayer. His son Amir stood beside him, holding an envelope of documents and a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Abba," he said softly, "we're moving to the new house next week. It's time to start fresh." Baba Jani looked up, smiled gently, and simply nodded. He didn't ask where his place would be in that fresh start. Amir had worked hard for his new home, but somewhere between ambition and pride, he forgot the quiet sacrifices that built his foundation. The new house was modern, bigger, and full of light, but it had no warmth yet. When he told Baba Jani that he'd arranged a small room for him to rest peacefully nearby, Baba Jani just said, "Wherever you're happy, my son, that's where my heart will be." A week later, Baba Jani packed a single suitcase. The walls of his old home carried echoes of his late wife's laughter, his children's first steps, the sound of rain on the tin roof during storms. As he walked out, his hand brushed the doorframe one last time. A silent goodbye to years of love, disguised as routine. He moved into a small rented room near the marketplace, just a 15-minute walk from the new house. Each morning he would visit Amir's home, help in small ways, watering the plants, polishing shoes, fixing a loose gate, then quietly return to his room by evening. Neighbors whispered, some with sympathy, others with judgment. But Baba Jani never spoke ill of his son. "Children aren't meant to repay love," he once said to the shopkeeper who asked why he tolerated such distance. "They just need to learn it in their own time." Amir, meanwhile, began to notice how silent his mornings felt without Baba Jani's presence. The new house echoed differently, clean, polished, but empty of the invisible comfort that once filled their days. He started noticing small details, how neatly the tools were arranged in the garage when Baba Jani came, how the garden stayed alive when he watered it, how his son's laughter was louder on those days. One afternoon, Amir's friend dropped by, surprised to find Baba Jani sweeping the porch. "Isn't this your father's home?" he asked casually. Amir froze. The words hung heavy in the air. For the first time, he saw the man not as someone old and quiet, but as the heart that had built everything around him. That night, Amir visited Baba Jani's small rented room for the first time. The old man was praying, light flickering from a single lamp. Amir knelt beside him, tears in his eyes, realizing what he had really left behind. Baba Jani looked at him, smiled faintly, and said, "Fresh starts mean nothing if you forget where your roots are." Days turned into weeks, and Baba Jani settled into his quiet routine. Every morning, before the sun had fully risen, he would walk to Amir's new home. He would carry a small basket with fresh bread or fruit, his steps slow but steady. He didn't wait for invitations. He simply showed up, as fathers do, offering help that was neither demanded nor acknowledged. The gate always creaked the same way when he opened it. He'd oil the hinges, sweep the porch, and water the plants that nobody else remembered to touch. Amir, busy with his work, barely noticed. He often left early, leaving Baba Jani in the company of silence and half-finished chores. The new house gleamed. Shiny floors, modern furniture, a massive chandelier that reflected ambition. But for Baba Jani, it felt empty. He missed the smell of old wood, the uneven tiles he had fixed himself, the echo of his wife's laughter that once filled their home. Yet he never let that show. He smiled when Amir's children called him Dada, even if their tone carried more confusion than love. He was still proud that his son had built something better, something grander. Sometimes, while cleaning the garage, Baba Jani would find old boxes labeled with his handwriting. Tools, photos, small mementos of a simpler life. He would dust them off, trace his fingers across the labels, and quietly tuck them back. He wasn't holding on to the past. He was simply honoring it. His silence became his greatest act of love. But silence can be misunderstood. Amir began to believe his father was content in the background, that his help was just habit, not heart. He didn't realize how much love lived in those quiet acts. How every sweep of the broom, every repaired chair was Baba Jani's way of saying, "I'm still here for you." Then came a small moment that would start to shift everything. One afternoon, Amir's best friend, Samir, dropped by unannounced. They'd grown up together, had seen Baba Jani work tirelessly for the family when Amir was just a boy. As Samir parked his car, he saw Baba Jani cleaning the side of the garage, his old hands carefully polishing a dusty plaque that once hung in their old house. A plaque that read, "Built with love by family." Samir paused. "Uncle, you're still fixing things, even here," he said with a gentle smile. Baba Jani looked up and replied, "A home always needs hands that care, son." When Amir joined them a few minutes later, Samir turned to him, puzzled. "Bro, isn't this your father's house?" Amir laughed awkwardly, brushing it off, but the question hit deeper than he showed. Baba Jani didn't say a word. He just smiled faintly, packed his tools, and left before sunset, as usual. That evening, as Amir sat in his perfectly designed living room, the silence felt louder than ever. For the first time, he noticed the missing warmth, the absence of something unseen but deeply felt. He realized that maybe his father hadn't just built walls. He had built the spirit that made a house, a home. The following morning carried a strange weight. Amir woke up earlier than usual, unable to shake off the thought of what Samir had said the previous day. He sat by the window, looking at the driveway where Baba Jani often parked his old bicycle before beginning his chores. For years he had seen his father as a man who simply did what fathers do, quietly, without question. But now, for the first time, Amir began to see the truth. Those daily visits weren't about routine. They were his father's silent way of staying connected to the home he had built and the people he loved most. When Baba Jani arrived that day, he found Amir waiting for him. "You're early today," Baba Jani said with his usual gentle smile. Amir hesitated, unsure of how to respond. The words he wanted to say were caught somewhere between guilt and pride. He followed his father outside as Baba Jani began trimming the plants, humming softly, just as he used to when Amir was a boy. Every movement carried patience, every gesture a story. Amir watched him for a while before finally asking, "Abba, why do you still come here every day?" Baba Jani paused for a moment, looked up and said, "A man doesn't stop visiting his heart just because it lives in another body." It was simple, but it hit Amir like a truth he had long ignored. His father wasn't cleaning or fixing. He was keeping the spirit of the home alive. The same spirit that Amir had unknowingly pushed away when he moved Baba Jani out. Later that afternoon, Samir returned with his wife and kids. As they sat together, Samir mentioned again how surprised he was to see Baba Jani working in the garage. "I thought this was your dad's place," he said casually, not realizing the sting in his words. Amir forced a smile, but inside his chest tightened. His wife noticed his silence, but said nothing. The air in the room grew heavy with unspoken realization. Baba Jani quietly served them tea, careful and deliberate, his hands steady despite their age. When he handed Amir his cup, he said softly, "You've done well, Beta. I'm proud of you." Those words should have felt comforting, but to Amir they felt like forgiveness he didn't deserve. After the guests left, Amir went to the garage and stood where his father had been polishing the old plaque. He touched it, reading the faded words again, "Built with love by family." The sentence that once felt decorative now felt sacred. He saw the story behind it, the late nights, the small sacrifices, the quiet endurance. For the first time, he truly understood what his father had built wasn't a structure. It was belonging. That evening, Amir drove to Baba Jani's small rented room. The street was dimly lit, the kind of place he had never imagined his father living. Through the small window, he saw Baba Jani sitting on a prayer mat, the glow of a single lamp reflecting in his glasses. Amir stood at the doorway, unable to move. His throat tightened as he realized that his father's humility wasn't weakness. It was love in its purest form, one that had never asked for recognition, only remembrance. The next morning, the air felt different, heavier, almost still. Amir drove to his father's small room before sunrise, carrying breakfast in a brown paper bag. He knocked twice before hearing Baba Jani's calm voice from inside. "Coming, Beta." When the door opened, Amir froze. The tiny room was neat but nearly empty. Just a prayer mat, a few old photographs, and a worn-out chair by the window. Baba Jani smiled as if nothing was unusual. "You're here early," he said. Amir handed him the food silently and looked around, realizing how little his father had kept for himself. They sat together in quiet for a while. Amir wanted to speak, to apologize, to bring back what time had already taken. But every time he looked at his father, the words stuck in his throat. Baba Jani poured tea into 2 cups and said gently, "You don't need to say anything, Amir. Some lessons must be felt, not spoken." The simplicity of that line broke Amir. He had spent years chasing success, trying to prove his worth, while the man who gave him everything lived with nothing but contentment. Later that day, Amir brought Baba Jani back to the house, his true home. The children were surprised but excited. His wife looked uneasy at first, but when she saw the quiet joy in Baba Jani's face, she understood. Baba Jani didn't scold anyone, didn't question or complain. He simply walked through each room like he was revisiting old memories, running his hand along the wall, touching the corners he once painted, smiling faintly when he saw the small crack in the window he had promised to fix years ago. In the evening, the family gathered for dinner. It had been years since Baba Jani sat at the same table with all of them. The meal was simple: lentils, bread and tea. Yet it felt like a feast. The children laughed louder, Amir spoke softer, and the air carried a sense of peace that had been missing for so long. After dinner, Amir walked his father to the porch. The sky was streaked with the orange glow of sunset. Baba Jani leaned against the railing, looking at the horizon. "You built something beautiful, Amir," he said quietly. "Just remember, a home doesn't need to shine, it just needs to feel alive." Amir nodded, eyes wet, heart heavy with both regret and relief. In that silence, everything made sense. The distance, the pain, the quiet sacrifices. As the camera pans out, Baba Jani sits on the old wooden bench, the same one he once left behind. The house stands behind him, bathed in soft evening light. His voice fades in. "You can lose a house, my son, but never the love that built it." The frame freezes on his gentle smile, not of sadness, but of peace, as the sound of the evening wind carries his words into the quiet.